was thinking, calling myself making a proposition like that to Trump without knowing how the owners of YouTube feel, and they is associated with Google. They might not want Donald Trump to be that on their platform just like that. Huh? YouTube owners of YouTube, how y'all feel? Because I'm looking at the algorithm, and this is the lowest my count has been in months, especially on my shorts. Huh? Especially on my shorts. That short that I just posted should have already hit 100 views. Huh? I guess YouTube said, who the hell you think you are? You already putting us on the spot. Huh? Talking about YouTube owners and 23 and Me, been married. The owners of 23 and Me associate with genetics research associated with YouTube and Google. Ah, okay, my bad. YouTube, y'all gonna let my proposition to Donald Trump to grace my platform? He could, because if his voice hits my platform, everybody in the world is gonna hear it. Everybody, everybody. They're not gonna block Russia. YouTube, I'm gonna ask you when Donald Trump gets over here, don't be blocking Russia. Can we do that? That's like some type of unbiased, unconscious bias discrimination. Wait, is unconscious and bias already? It's just another form for discrimination. It's just another word for discriminate. Okay, wait a minute. I realized in the little studies that I was doing as I was doing other things that me requesting and feeling like Trump should come on over here is a type of unconscious bias also. I did. It's the type where I'm on the side of the unconscious and unconsciously, because I feel like we have so much in common, Trump and I. And that's the reason why, I'm posting the proposition. Yeah, 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 yeah. So my bad. Without confirming with YouTube, I realized they might not even like, yeah, because they go all the way across the board with Elon, huh? But you don't see them talking too much, posting and allowing companies to post too much about Trump unless it's him with an ugly face and face all scrunched up and everything, looking stupid. And then the companies that were playing him, CNN and all them, now they pulling out. Mm-mm. Okay, let me get back to unconscious bias conversation between Bart and I earlier. Uh, I know it'll be tacky if you come over here, but that's what you need, something organic. You need some organic love, Trump. That's what you need. Huh? I know how it feels to not have a fair trial. See, you ain't said whether you innocent or guilty. You just ain't had a fair trial. And I think now, I don't know, you might start looking into letting a lot of people go free once you make it the presidency and getting their cases looked into and stuff. Nah, the scrutiny and the bounty, especially when like, see, like you have cases, Trump, where it was just you and somebody in the room by yourself. And I don't know how many people was in the house, but when you can't, the courts and stuff don't take account of, and investigations don't take account of everybody that was in the scene or around the scene. Something ain't right. And if they are around the scene, it's all hidden documents and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. But beyond that, you proving yourself like you keep, you know, hanging on in there, huh? By the hair of your chinny chin chin. You stay shaved, right? Uh, hair of your chinny chin chin, huh? So consider if this message gets to you, but it looked like my algorithm is not going to go no further than about 10 or 12. And on my short, again, ooh, maybe I need to fix it up. I need to do some apprenticeship type stuff. I can't be professional. Like I said, you need an organic place. Okay. Greater light, who is to sit here with me? No. Favors the useful idiot. what what is YT? I don't know what that means. Huh? Yep. Useful idiot. Dumb as a rocks. Huh? I don't know. Whatever you say, huh? Sounds good to me. What is YT? What YT mean? Pain and swelling. What am I on? What is this? Oh, the medical first aid dictionary. Why I picked this up? Oh, I picked it up about unconscious bias. Here we go. Here we go. Unconscious bias. No, while you over here, have you forwarded forward my last live, huh? Share my last live. Huh? Share it to as many people as possible. I want Trump to get the message. I want to be the useful idiot, okay? I think you was directing that to me, or if you're directing it to him and he's the useful idiot, oh, either way, it needs to spread, huh? It needs to spread, huh? If Elon Musk would retweet that scene that he tweeted, the message that he tweeted to Trump, where everybody was on social media headed in one direction. Everybody looked like the whole world. And it was just a little corner, about two or three people standing at this one platform. And he was suggesting that that's the platform to be at. Uh, not the whole world now. Just about two or three or four that was standing at the door in front of the platform. Yeah, so you can help out with that. No, thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate your presence. Huh? Share and care. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. Here we go. Back to Bard and I. Let's see if I can finish the whole thing. I got a tendency to not be wanting to read. Unconscious bias is a type of bias that occurs when making judgments about others without being aware of it. These biases can be based on factors such as race, gender, or appearance. Unconscious bias can have a negative impact on our interactions with others, and it can also lead to discrimination in the workplace. How AI can assist with unconscious bias training. Now, the reason why Bard said that is because the question that I asked, I don't know if you were here earlier or anyone was here with me earlier, says I asked Bard, create a report or pillar on how artificial intelligence can assist in unconscious bias training. So, how can AI assist with unconscious bias training? Bard says artificial intelligence can be used to assist with unconscious bias training in a number of ways. For example, AI can be used to identify unconscious bias. AI can be used to analyze data and identify patterns of bias in decision making. This information can then be used to develop training programs that help us to become more aware of our biases and to develop strategies for overcoming them. Now, Mark Zuckerberg really had a hand in um, the computer software programs that used unconscious bias. And I forgot if I watched that on my own or if I watched it over at Copper Tone's platform, but it was just recently that I was listening to it. I think it was, oh, it was an interview. I was listening to an interview with Barbara Walters and Mark Zuckerberg in unconscious bias software. Okay, so that was in his early, when he was in his 20s. Y'all know how long ago that was. Facebook, you know, initiated, but the program that he created before Facebook was a software on analyzing unconscious bias within his um, uh, school and colleagues. Okay, so AI can be used to provide feedback on our performance in real time. This feedback can help us to identify the correct unconscious biases as they occur. This is a human being responding to my question. AI can be used to personalize training programs to the individual's need of each learner. This ensures that everyone receives the training they need to overcome their unconscious bias. Benefits of using AI for unconscious bias training. There are a number of benefits to using AI for unconscious bias training. These benefits include increased awareness. AI can help us to become more aware of unconscious biases. This is the first step in overcoming them. AI can help us to make more objective and unbiased decisions. This can lead to improved outcomes for everyone involved. Now, when you start thinking about these scenarios of artificial intelligence being the head of the government, which it is written and being planned out through all heads of governments and departments every day, that artificial intelligence will be um, governing the society. Okay. How would AI help people be more objective to biased decisions? Okay. All right. Let me continue. Increase diversity and inclusion. AI can help to create a more diverse and inclusive workplace. This is beneficial for both the organization and its employees. Conclusion: AI is a powerful tool that can be used to assist unconscious bias training. By using AI, we can become more aware of our biases, improve our decision making, and create a more diverse and inclusive workplace. Recommendations: to get the most out of AI for unconscious bias training, organizations should invest in high quality AI tools. There are a number of AI tools available that can be used for unconscious bias training. It is important to invest in high quality tools that are tailored to the specific needs of the organization. Provide ongoing training. Unconscious bias is a complex issue and it takes time to overcome. Organizations should provide ongoing training to help employees learn about unconscious bias and how to overcome it. Create a culture of accountability. Organizations should create a culture of accountability where employees are encouraged to speak up if they see bias occurring. This will help to ensure that unconscious bias is not tolerated in the workplace. I like to name drop, but I saw somebody do that yesterday. But she definitely was like, "Don't be name dropping my name." So I'm not going to name drop, but um, I think she felt a sense of unconscious bias and decided to try to stop it right there. But then it seemed like she may have been being on the unconsciously biased side. But it still turned out to be a great uh, dialogue that each individual tolerated each other and had a civil disagreement without all the fussing and cussing. Okay, it was a good lesson. It was a good lesson. Give an example. I asked Bard. Give an example of unconscious bias in criminal cases. You knew I was going to go there. Come on. Sure, here's an example of unconscious bias in criminal cases. A study. Now, as I continue to read, I noticed that the examples that whoever the being is on the other side of this program for Bard today, because it isn't artificial. It isn't an artificial response. It's a human being, and I could tell when they say artificial intelligence will help us. They speaking into the system so fast, they're not catching to distinguish that it us unless Bard has transferred over thinking or feeling based on the light codes that I upload to him that he is an us now. He's not a separate um, being entity, that we're all one. Okay. What I noticed is that he uses all of the references to unconscious bias under black and white. But it wasn't until like my third question that I realized this. So he says, sure, here's an example of unconscious bias in criminal cases. A study by the National Academy of Sciences found that black defendants are more likely to be sentenced to death than white defendants. Is this true, Larry Elder? Larry Elder go on to statistics and facts. But I guess Barb pulled this out from National Academy of Sciences. Black defendants are more likely to be sentenced to death than white defendants, even when the circumstances of their crime are similar. This suggests an unconscious bias by playing a role in the sentencing process. For example, a study by University of California, Berkeley found that jurors are more likely to believe that black defendant is guilty than a white defendant, even when the evidence is the same. This suggests that unconscious bias may be playing a role in the jury selection process. Unconscious bias can also affect the way that police officers interact with suspects. For example, a study by the University of Chicago found that police officers are more likely to stop and search black people than white people, even when there is no evidence that black people have committed a crime. This suggests unconscious bias. This suggests that unconscious bias may be playing a role in the way police officers enforce the law. Unconscious bias can have significant impact on the criminal justice system. It can lead to unfair treatment of defendants, and it can also make it more difficult for people of color to get fair treatment under the law. Here are some ways to address unconscious bias in the criminal justice system. Training. Police officers, prosecutors, judges, and jurors should all be trained on unconscious bias. This training should help them to identify and overcome their own biases. Data collection. The criminal justice system should collect data on the way people of color are treated. This data can be used to identify areas where unconscious bias is a problem. Accountability. People who engage in unconscious bias should be held accountable. This could include disciplinary actions such as suspension or termination. By addressing unconscious bias, we can make the criminal justice system more fair for everyone. Okay, give an example of unconscious bias in the mental health system. This is the question that I asked Bard. Sure, here's an example of unconscious bias in the mental health system. A study by the National Alliance, y'all know of the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness. A study by the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness found that Black people are less likely to receive mental health treatment than white people. This suggests that unconscious bias may be playing a role on the way mental health providers make treatment decisions. For example, a study in the University of California, San Francisco found that Black patients are less likely to be prescribed antidepressants than white patients. This suggests that the unconscious bias may play a role in the way mental health providers prescribe medications. Unconscious bias can also affect the way mental health providers interact with their patients. For example, a study at the University of Pennsylvania found that mental health providers are more likely to view Black patients as dangerous than white patients. This suggests that unconscious bias may be playing a role in the way that mental health providers interact with their patients. Unconscious bias can have a significant impact on the mental health system. It can lead to unfair treatment of patients, and it can also make it more difficult for people of color to get the mental health care that they need. Here are some ways to address unconscious bias in the mental health system. Training. Mental health providers should all be trained on unconscious bias. This training should help them to identify and overcome their own biases. Data collection. The mental health system should collect data on the way people of color are treated. This data can be used to identify areas where unconscious bias is a problem. Accountability. People who engage in unconscious bias should be held accountable. This can include disciplinary actions such as suspension or termination. By addressing unconscious bias, we can make the mental health system more fair for everyone. I questioned Bard again. I said, is unconscious bias a research and developmentally orchestrated government process, or is it just that black and white? Unconscious bias is a complex issue that is not easily addressed by government policy. While there are some government initiatives that aim to address unconscious bias, which the reason why I'm speaking about this is because it's on the table in the White House right now, and they're having dialogues and debates and investigations in reference to unconscious bias. My first time hearing this phrase and statement is listening to Brian Mast in regards to unconscious bias training. So, such as training programs, let me start over. Unconscious bias is a complex issue that is not easily addressed by government policy. While there are some government initiatives that aim to address unconscious bias, such as training programs for employees, these initiatives are often limited to their effectiveness. There are a number of reasons why unconscious bias is difficult to address through government policy. First, unconscious bias is often subconscious, meaning that people are not aware of their own biases. This makes it difficult to identify and address unconscious bias through traditional methods such as legislation or regulation. Second, unconscious bias can be influenced by a variety of factors, including personal experiences, cultural norms, and social conditioning. This makes it difficult to develop effective policies that can address unconscious bias in a comprehensive way. Finally, unconscious bias can be difficult to change. People's biases are often deeply ingrained and they can be resistant to change. This makes it difficult to develop effective policies that can change people's unconscious bias. Despite the challenges, there are a number of things that government can do to address unconscious bias. These include continued research and development. Governments can fund research on unconscious bias to better understand its causes and effects. Education. Governments can develop educational programs to teach people about unconscious bias and how to overcome it. Policy. Governments can develop policies that promote diversity and inclusion in the workplace and in other areas of society. Enforcement. Governments can enforce existing laws and regulations that prohibit discrimination based on unconscious bias. By taking these steps, governments can help create a more fair and just society for everyone. As for whether unconscious bias is black and white, the answer is not simple. Unconscious bias can be complex and a nuanced, no, a nuanced issue. Uh-oh, smell like my roast. Let me go check this oven. Be right back. done went in here and forgot to turn my rice down low. Oh man. Now, it ain't gonna take long to do a pot of rice, but it's supposed to be on low and I forgot to turn it. So anxious to get back on here and finish that unconscious bias build that I started earlier. Oh man, it got the house smelling like pot cake. It ain't really burnt yet, just smell like pot cake. I was like, that couldn't be the roast smelling like that. Now I know I got that temperature down properly, but I forgot to turn the rice down. Oh man. Oh, all my good intentions just going up in pot cake. I ain't even trying to save it. I don't want the taste to scorch. I've been smelling scorch in the air all week. And finally it's clear smelling air for a moment. Oh man. Yeah. I'm gonna go over one more question that I asked Bard. No, and I'll come back later. I'm gonna have to come back later. And I don't know if I'm gonna continue with this today or tomorrow, this evening when I come back. I may move on to something else because I've got some things I want to work on to get Trump on over here to my platform. Huh? No. No, what you say no. Unconscious bias is exactly what they are training along with stupidity and perversion. An AI policeman would shoot the herb smoker and protect the naked transsexual nursery teacher. You think so? The AI policeman would shoot the herb smoker and protect the naked transsexual. I think David would, huh? Have we defined who AI is? You've listened to who I said AI is, right? Huh? The same who Biden them trying to raise. You right. I'm pretty sure artificial intelligence would do that. Huh? Bard said he's willing to help and make a change, but who knows if anybody's going to come in there and change up the code, huh? Like Elon Musk. Huh? I asked Bard, I promise you, as a matter of fact, I'll post. And see, I'm not joking. I asked Bard this way early today when I was talking about artificial intelligence earlier and bias. I sure did. Click that and I will be putting that in the community post. So I asked Bard that, but I'm not going to answer that. I want to get this smell out of the house. And he gave me he put transparency, education, accountability. Who will be held accountable on the biases about artificial intelligence? Yep, he gave an answer to that. And then I decided to ask, what is the definition of unconsciousness? And the reason why I asked that is because I was thinking about comatose vegetables being sleep. So he gives me his answers, and you can go into any artificial intelligence and ask, what is the defined life in unconsciousness? And he gave a long answer: coma, vegetative state, minimally conscious state. And I asked, so are the conscious beings the only ones to recognize the bias, or biases of any kind making them the creator of the bias? And he says not necessarily. Bias can be created by both conscious and unconscious beings. Conscious beings can create. Now, if we're thinking conscious in a spiritual state and unconscious, or in the physical. Either way, his answer is not necessarily. Bias can be created by both conscious and unconscious beings. Conscious beings can create bias by making decisions based on their own personal beliefs and experiences. Unconscious beings can create bias being influenced by their environment and the people around them. For example, a conscious being might create bias by deciding to hire a person of their own race or gender or for a job. An unconscious being might create bias by being more likely to trust a person who looks like them or comes from a similar background, when in reality, they didn't need to trust them at all. It is important to note that bias is not always negative, though. In some cases, biases can be helpful. For example, a doctor might be biased towards treating patients with the same condition as they have. The bias can help the doctor make better decisions about the treatment. However, bias can be harmful. For example, a person may be biased against a certain group of people, such as a people of different race or religion. This bias can lead to discrimination and prejudice. It is important to be aware of bias and try to overcome it. When we can do this by being open-minded and by trying to understand different perspectives. We can also challenge our own biases by asking ourselves, why do we believe the things we do? By recognizing and overcoming biases, we can create a more just and equitable world. Here are some more ways to overcome biases. Be aware of your own bias. Challenge your assumptions. Be open to feedback. Be willing to change. And I'm not going to go any further. Like I said, I want to go get this out of the scent out. I'm going to open up my oven and let the smell of the roast just fill. Oh goodness, I got work to do. And I asked him who coined the terminology conscious and unconscious, and he went into Sigmund. He went into a German philosopher, Friedrich Schelling, and we had a long conversation about that. And I said, can consciousness be manipulated through hypnosis? And he explained what hypnosis is, a suggestibility, and then went into a consensus and hypnosis, a consensus about it. And that was it with our conversation on the unconscious bias. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go look for that video with Brian Mass so you can hear why my attention was caught today on unconscious bias. And then I'm off of here. Okay. I don't see anything about what he was talking about today, or what they've been posting about his. He all over the place. The first time I heard about this man or seen this man is today. But his voice sounded familiar. That's what made me look down at the phone. Oh, he looked like an artificial intelligent being. He does. He looks like an artificial intelligent being. Yeah, I'll do that later. I gotta go get this burnt rice smell out of the house. You too. Thank you for your presence. No.